Sarah's told me she made a roast tonight 6 times. One more time.
You got one of the Batman watchers, do you? You got a Batman watch?
Drives me nuts when it starts raining. Let the record show at 6 o'clock, we'll call to order the Berkeley County Planning Commission meeting for October 3rd, 2022. Sarah, can you do roll call?
Eddie Gokenauer,
Here.
Linda Barnhart, Eric Ball,
Here.
McKenna Morton,
Present.
Tim Lewis,
Present.
Daniel Gant, Nick Dean.
Thank you, Sarah. First item is approval of the agenda. I don't believe there's any changes.
Second.
I have a first by Mr. Goff and a second by Mr. Gokenauer to approve the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Sunshine Law speakers, I didn't see anybody walk up, so we have no one to speak under Sunshine Law speakers. Next item is approval of the minutes from the last meeting.
Heck.
I have a first by Mr. Goff and a second by Ms. Norton to approve the minutes from September 19th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have 4 public hearings. Tonight, we'll start with Big Springs Animal Hospital.
The first public hearing tonight's a request for waiver. The project is Big Springs Animal Hospital, file 2207-200. The developer is KW McCullough Family Trust, and the engineer is Greenway Engineering. It's located in the Arden District, tax map 10B, parcels 21 and 21.1. This property is located at 2279 Winchester Avenue, approximately 530 feet north of Evans Run Drive. The developer is proposing the creation of a 0.15 acre parcel and a 0.46 acre parcel, which are both currently served by public water and sewer. The developer is requesting a waiver to section 305.4.1 of the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance, requiring a 2 acre minimum lot size in order to proceed through the preliminary final process. Parcel 21 and parcel 21.1 were originally subdivided per deed book 329, page 293, and during a subsequent boundary line adjustment, the parcels were erroneously merged in deed book 463, page 660. Parcel 21 was later conveyed to Walter Jackson with deed book 675, page 476. Since Mr. Jackson owns parcel 21 and the developer wishes to sell parcel 21.1, they must be legally subdivided. Staff recommends approval of the waiver to section 305.4.1 of the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance, requiring a 2 acre minimum lot size in order to proceed through the preliminary final process.
This is the, do we have anyone to represent the developer on this?
Hello, Brooke Perry from Greenway Engineering here to answer any questions you have.
Thanks, Rick. This is a public hearing, so if anyone out there has any comments they'd like to make on this project, you're welcome to step forward, state your name and your address.
Your public hearing be closed. Oh, there is something. Okay, sorry. Reverend Dr. Walter A. Jackson III. I live next door to the property in question.
Yep. You have any comments you want to make on the request?
Well, I'm very concerned about the what's going to happen with the property. Heretofore, I've lived in the property since 1998, April of 1998. I bought the property from the previous owner, and I was not informed that the previous owner had been paid to widen the road. And so I was not given the proper notice, and so I feel that I was not treated fairly in that. Also, I was under the assumption that the property on the other side of me belonged to me, and I found that the city of Martinsburg owned the property. And I wrote several letters to the water department that have been completely ignored. And so once again, I feel that I have been, not treated fairly because I've been trying to get that property back because the only person that property would be valuable to is me. I understand that when I talked to a person that was planning to buy the property, that it was written in the deed when they're trying to purchase it, that I would have access to get to my 2 parking spots through the driveway to the animal hospital, which I've enjoyed since I've lived there. And when the animal hospital owned it, if I had company, I could use one of the spots nearest to my house. Then when the corporation bought the property, they began to be a little not so cooperative. So that meant that I had to park on the grass if I had company on the other side of me. So I'm very concerned about what's going to happen with the property, since I'm literally landlocked on both sides. And when I found out about the road being widened, it was too late to make the previous owner buy the property back at fair market value. So I'm very concerned because it makes it hard for me if I decide to sell the property, because who's going to buy it? That's my major concern.
Thank you. Rick, do you have any comments you want to add, or?
I noticed by looking at this plat on his property, prior to the meeting, I inquired about the driveway access to this property. So
this hasn't been formally submitted as a preliminary final. This is just for the waiver, so we haven't been able to look at it. But one of our comments would be to make sure that there is proper access for the existing structures, and obviously both property owners will have to sign off on all of those plats.
okay.
So this is just to allow them to be able to do the preliminary final process, because quite frankly, it's the easiest way to subdivide, because it's a major issue with 2 owners of 1 parcel and two deeds being completely different.
But it does say the access easement is already being recorded. So there is access.
There's a common access part
Yeah.
which looks like it was probably a
I
previous
mean, he
DOH
has
entry
rights to
permit.
use their driveway.
Mr. Jackson, do you hear the comments from the engineer and the planner?
See,
So tonight, the public hearing is just to allow that property to be subdivided, because right now, your parcel and the adjacent parcel where the animal hospital is legally 1 parcel, which obviously is a huge issue for both owners. So this is just to allow the subdivision to take place in a quicker, easier way. And then the access issue would be looked at once the subdivision plat is actually submitted to us. And myself and Doug will review it, and access would be a major point for both of us, that you would have adequate access, as well as the animal hospital parcel having adequate access. So that would be looked at down the road. This is just to allow you guys to subdivide your parcel, and you own your parcel outright by plat, and the animal hospital outright.
And your access is covered under this existing access easement for now, unless that changes during the plat.
okay, that's my concern, is my access in and out to my parking.
And that's
It's
how,
gonna
and
be
that's
like-
what we'll look at. And if a lot of your issues will come down to your negotiations with the property owner, whether it be the future property owner or the existing property owner, in terms of you being able to use that parking lot for overflow parking like you have been, and so on. So that's not something that we regulate, but that's something you would have to work out with the owner.
But they have to give you access.
Yeah,
at
we
this
wouldn't
point.
landlock you.
Yeah, they can't landlock you, so, they could get you a new access, but I doubt they would do that because there's really not enough room for it. This would be, your existing access that you use now would make the most sense for everything.
Because originally, all of that was 1 property. And
Yep.
then it was divided. in the
Yes.
When
animal
he
hospitals.
lived there, and then he subdivided it, then it merged, yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public?
Public hearing requires.
A motion? Second?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have a motion, Mr. Goff, second by Mr. Gokenhour to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The public hearing is closed. Anybody have any questions for River Greenway Engineering?
I don't, after their explanation, I don't have any
Okay. You
questions.
got notes on that, I'm assuming. I saw you writing.
I'll say that access issue, that's news to us. As far as Greenway was concerned, we were understanding that this was an erroneous merger, and just to make things move forward legally, this was how to solve the problem.
Okay, thank you.
Hearing no other questions, sir, I'll make a motion we accept staff recommendation for the approval of the waiver, section 305.4.1 of the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance 2009, requiring a 2-acre minimum lot size in order to proceed through the preliminary final process.
I have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour to accept staff recommendations for waiver of a section 305.4.1, the Berkeley County subdivision, second by Mr. Goff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Likewise for no. Motion carries. Thank you.
The second public hearing tonight is a request for sketch plan advancement. The project is Bunker Hill Water Treatment Plant, file 2203-083. The developer is the Berkeley County Public Service Water District, and the engineer is Hazen and Sawyer. It's located in the Mill Creek District, tax map 9, parcel 92, and is located at 97 Runnymede Road, approximately 500 feet west of its intersection with Winchester Avenue. This project proposes the redevelopment and replacement of the existing water treatment plant on approximately 2.8 acres. At the June 21st, 2022 Planning Commission meeting, the developer was granted the following waivers to the Subdivision Ordinance, Section 801, Table 8-1B, Public Utilities and Facilities, subsection requiring 1 parking space for every 400 square feet of gross floor area, plus 1 parking space for each stored vehicle. Section 501.2.H requiring a 50-foot railroad buffer. Section 503B requiring a 50-foot front setback. And Section 802 requiring a 25-foot buffer area between residential and commercial uses. On September 9th, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating that the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. The sketch plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends advancement of the sketch plan to the preliminary plan stage.
Do you have anyone present to represent the project?
I am Jim from the Water District. If I may answer any questions, I would be glad to do so.
Thank you, Jim. This is a public hearing, so if you have any comments on the Bunker Hill Water Treatment Plant, you're welcome to step forward, state your name and your address.
There's nobody. I move to close public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Goff, a second by Mr. Gokenhour to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Like size? No. Planning Commission members, you have any questions for Jim on the water treatment plant?
Hearing no questions, sir, I'll make a motion we accept staff recommendation for advancement of the sketch plan to the preliminary plan stage.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour to accept the subdivision, the sketch plans requirements as outlined by the staff for advancement to the preliminary plan stage. Second by Mr. Goff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Likewise for no. Motion carries. Thank you, Jim.
The next public hearing is a request for final plat approval. The project is Harvest Glen Phase 2, lots 3 through 10 and 26 through 31. The file is 2204-104. The developer is Panhandle Homes of Berkeley County and the engineer is Fox and Associates. It's located in the Apecan District, tax map 10, parcel 28, and is located on Vicksburg Court and Creasy Way. This final plat proposes 14 single-family lots on 9.6 acres to be served by public water and sewer. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat approval contingent upon receipt of a surety in the amount of $417,480 even, Plat to be released upon receipt of the surety.
Have anyone to represent the project?
Good evening, Steve Sianovich, Fox and Associates, representing the applicant.
Thanks, Steve. This is the public hearing. If you have any comments to make on Harvest Glen Phase 2, you're welcome to step forward, state your name, your address, and any concerns you have.
If there's nobody, I'll move the public hearing be closed.
Motion?
Second.
Second. You have a motion by Mr. Goff and a second by Mr. Gokenhour to close the public hearing. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, Planning Commission members, if you have any questions for Steve on this project?
Hearing no questions, sir, make a recommendation or the motion for final plat approval contingent upon receipt of surety in the amount of $417,480. Plat is to be released upon receipt of surety.
We have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour to accept staff recommendations for final plat approval contingent on receipt of surety in the amount of $417,480 even. Plat to be released upon receipt of surety, and a second by Mr. Goff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
The last public hearing tonight is also a request for final plat approval. The project is Arcadia Springs North, Section 1, Phase 7, lots 125 through 136, 229 through 237, and 266 through 274. The file is 2207-216. The developer is Monarch Development Group, Inc., and the engineer is Gordon. It's located in the Arden District, Tax Map 12, Parcel 29.3, and Tax Map 7, Parcels 5, 5.1, and 5.2. This property is located on Van Clevesville Road, approximately 2,000 feet east of its intersection with Meady Road. The developer is proposing 30 single-family attached lots on approximately 5 acres to be served by public water and sewer. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat approval contingent upon receipt of surety in the amount of $496,116 even. Plat to be released upon receipt of surety and developer's agreement.
Do you have anyone to represent the project?
Good evening, Ryan Perch from Integrity Federal Services, representing the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. This is a public hearing. If you have any comments to make on this Arcadia Springs North, you're welcome to step forward, state your name, your address, any comments you have.
If there's nobody, I'll move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Goff and a second by Mr. Norton to close the public hearing. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Public hearing is closed. Any Planning Commission members, you have any questions for Ryan on the project?
I move approval of the final plat contingent upon said surety and developer's agreement.
Second.
We have a motion by Kenna for approval of the final plat approval contingent on receipt of surety in $493,116 and plat to be released on receipt of surety and developer's agreement. All those in favor? Oops. And a second by Mr. Goff. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Motion carries. That is it for the public hearings this evening.
The next project is a request for preliminary plan approval. The project is Chempac Inc., file 2205-146. The developer is Chempac Inc., and the engineer is Dykes Engineering. It's located in the Arden District, Tax Map 14, Parcel 15.1, and is located on the north side of Corning Way, approximately 1,200 feet of its intersection with Winchester Avenue. This project proposes a 25,000 square foot addition and a future 55,000 square foot addition, a 6,400 square foot office addition, and additional parking on approximately 21 acres to be served by public water and sewer. No waivers or exceptions have been requested. On August 18th, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating that the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. The preliminary plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends approval of the preliminary plan.
Do you have anyone to represent the project this evening?
Good evening. Denny Dunlap with Dice Engineering, here to represent the applicant.
Thank you. Planning Commission members, do you have any questions for the engineering department?
No questions. Prepared to make a motion to accept staff recommendation for approval of the preliminary plan.
Have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour to accept staff recommendations for approval of the preliminary plan, a second by Mr. Goff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Likewise for no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
We move on to final plat determination.
This is a request for final plat determination. The project is Baker's Crossing Townhome Subdivision. The file number is 2205-132. The developer is J. Hess Group LLC and the engineer is Greenway Engineering. It's located at the Arden District, tax map 12J, parcels 14 and 19. It's located at the intersection of Charlestown Road and Ceramic Drive. This project proposes the development of 8 townhome lots on 0.87 acres to be served by public water and sewer. There are no waivers or exceptions that have been requested. On September 16, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith stated that the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the November 7th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
Do you have anyone to represent the project?
Brooke Perry, Greenway Engineering.
Planning Commission members, do we have any questions for Britt or the Greenway Engineering on the project?
No questions. Make motion to accept staff recommendation for final plat determination and advertise with a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the November 7th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
Motion by Mr. Gokenhour to accept staff recommendations for final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the November 7th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting. Second by Mr. Goff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Likewise for no. Motion carries.
This is another request for final plat determination. The project is Cardinal Point, Section 4, Phase 1, lots 8 and 9, 98 through 127, and 145 through 146. The file number is 2209-259. The developer is Panhandle Homes and the engineer is Fox and Associates. It's located at the Falling Waters District, tax map 9, parcel 11.9, located along the north side of Hammonds Mill Road west of St. Andrews Drive. This project is Phase 1 that proposes 34 single-family lots on 9 acres to be served by public water and sewer. At the November 5th, 2018 Planning Commission meeting, the developer was granted a waiver to allow 3 on-site parking spaces instead of 2 on-site and 1 off-site. At the September 16, 2019 Planning Commission meeting, the developer was granted a waiver to Section 502.1 of the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance relating to the requirement of 2 points of access onto a public road or a WVDOH right-of-way for development of 100 lots or greater. The proposal was contingent on the bonding of Serena Drive encumbered by the authorized access road. There will not be a reduction and or release of the surety on Serena Drive until the temporary serviceable road is built. On September 26, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating that the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, and therefore staff recommends final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the November 7th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
Anyone to represent the project?
Yes, Steve Sianovich, Fox and Associates, representing the applicant.
Planning Commission members, do you have any questions or comments on the project?
Hearing none, make a motion we accept staff recommendation for final plat determination, advertise for public hearing, consideration of final plat approval, November 7th, 2022, planning commission meeting.
Have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour to accept staff recommendations for final plat determination and advertising of the public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the November 7th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting. Second by Mr. Goff. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Likewise, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
That's one.
This is a request for final plat determination. Cardinal Point, Section 4, Phase 2, lots 1 through 7, 128 through 139, and 147 through 152. The file number is 2209-260. The developer is Panhandle Homes, and the engineer is Fox and Associates. It's located at the Falling Waters District, Tax Map 9, Parcel 11.9, located along the north side of Hammonds Mill Road west of St. Andrews Drive. Phase 2 proposes 25 single-family lots on 6.8 acres to be served by public water and sewer. At the November 5th, 2018 Planning Commission meeting, the developer was granted a waiver to allow 3 on-site parking spaces instead of 2 on-site and 1 off-site. At the September 16th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting, the developer was granted a waiver to Section 502.1 of the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance relating to the requirement of 2 access points onto a public road or a WVDOH right-of-way for a development of 100 lots or greater. The approval was contingent upon the bonding of Serena Drive encumbered by the authorized access road. There will not be a reduction and/or release of the surety on Serena Drive until the temporary serviceable road is built. On September 26, 2022, the county engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating that the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance. Therefore, staff recommends final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the November 7th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
Steve Stianovich, Fox and Associates, representing the applicant.
Planning Commission members, does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask Steve?
Hearing none, make a motion we accept staff recommendation for final plat determination, advertise for public hearing, November 7th, 2022.
We have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour to accept staff recommendations for final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the November 7th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting, second by Mr. Goff. All members in favor say aye.
Aye.
Likewise, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can we dispense of the descriptive paragraphs that we have of this project?
Yeah, if Nate,
It's a-
if he just wants to read the first sentence of the first paragraph about the parking waiver, and then if you just want to say granted a waiver to section 5021,
Yeah,
Actually, that parking waiver doesn't apply.
it's a different section, but
It didn't apply to the preceding section
Lump them
4.
together.
It does apply.
can't lump them together.
Actually,
We tried that
it doesn't
one
apply to
time.
section 5.
it doesn't apply to section 5, but it actually did apply to section 4. It's Serena Drive, part of that.
I'm sorry, Laura, I was only referring to the parking.
Oh,
Is it
okay,
right?
sorry.
You can thank me later.
I'll take you now.
We love you.
This is a request for final plat determination. The project is Cardinal Point, Section 5, Phase 1, lots 372 through 395. The file number is 2209-261. The developer is Panhandle Homes. The engineer is Fox and Associates. It's located at the Falling Waters District, Tax Map 9, Parcel 11.6, along the north side of Hammonds Mill Road west of St. Andrews Drive. Phase 1 proposes 24 villa lots on 4.2 acres to be served by public water and sewer. At the November 5th, 2018 Planning Commission meeting, the developer was granted a waiver to allow 3 on-site parking spaces instead of 2 on-site and 1 off-site. That waiver was granted to Section 502.1 on September 16th, 2019 at that Planning Commission meeting. On September 26, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the November 7, 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
Steve Stianovich, Fox and Associates, representing the applicant on this one as well.
Thanks, Steve. Planning Commission members, you have any questions for Steve?
No questions. I make the motion, we accept staff recommendation for final plat determination, advertise for public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at November 7, 2022 Planning Commission.
I have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour to accept staff recommendations for final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the November 7th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting, a second by Mr. Goff. All in favor?
Aye.
Likewise for no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
This is a request for final plat determination, Cardinal Point Section 5, Phase 2, lots 326 through 341 and 420 through 431. The file number is 2209-263. The developer is Panhandle Homes and the engineer is Fox and Associates. It's located at the Falling Waters District, Tax Map 9, Parcel 11.6, along the north side of Hammonds Mill Road, west of St. Andrews Drive. Phase 2 proposes 28 villa lots on 6 acres to be served by public water and sewer. The Planning Commission meeting, the developer was granted a waiver to allow 3 on-site parking spaces instead of 2 on-site and 1 off-site at the November 5th, 2018 Planning Commission meeting. That waiver was granted to Section 502.1 at the September 16th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting. On September 26, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating that this project was completed and found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. And staff is recommending a final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the November 7th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
Steve Stianovich, Fox and Associates, representing the applicant on this project.
Planning Commission members, we have any questions? Take a motion.
Hearing none, make a motion, we accept staff recommendation for final plat approval, or final plat determination, and advertise for public hearing for final plat approval on November 7, 2022.
We have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour to accept staff recommendations for final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the November 7th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting, is second by Mr. Goff. All in favor? Likewise, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. That's my last one.
Thanks.
Okay, so the last project tonight is the request for major plan change approval that was tabled from the last meeting. I'm going to read just real quick. Lakes of Martinsburg Phase 1, Plan Change Number 5, Files 2204-102. The developer is Banbury Holdings LLC. The engineer is Integrity Federal Services, located in the Apecan District, Tax Map 2, Parcel 35, and is located along Weaver Lane, approximately half a mile west of its intersection with Williamsport Pike. This major plan change proposes the addition of 7 single-family lots on 1.6 acres to be served by public water and sewer. On August 12, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith stated that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed, found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. The major plan change meets the requirements of the ordinance, therefore staff recommends approval of the major plan change and advancement to the final plat stage. At the September 19, 2022 Planning Commission meeting, This major plan change was tabled to allow time for a meeting between multiple agencies and stakeholders. On September 27th, 2022, a meeting was held between the developer, their engineer, and county staff. The developer stated that no new sinkholes have been found during their site visit, and they do not intend to bring the water level back up in the pond unless it's occurred naturally. I will after this staff report was created and distributed. Today I talked to Keith Allison at West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection, and he stated that him and his supervisor did find sinkholes on site, but his formal report hasn't been typed up and divvied out yet. I bring that up because if there are sinkholes on site, DEP is the entity that oversees that remediation. That's not something that we would, oversee, but that'll have to be covered between the developer and DEP.
First, I guess we need a motion to untable.
Motion to untable this project. Lakes.
We got a motion by Mr. Gokenhour and a second by Mr. Goff to untable this from the last meeting. All those in favor? Aye. I go out to no. We have anyone from Integrity here? Nope. Ryan's gonna come up. He's gonna be the man on the hour.
Ryan Perks from Integrity Federal Services, representing the applicant. I also have Rick Fink from Banbury Holdings here.
Okay. Was this a public hearing the last?
It was.
Did we close the public hearing?
I believe
Yes.
it was closed, yes, before it was tabled.
Okay.
Were the liners found to be there?
They have a agreement with Geotech to get out there, but they have not had a chance to get them out there yet. They're still waiting on. Geotechs are backed up right now, so they have them engaged and are going to have them out there to do the investigation.
Behind the staff report, there is a listing from the developer's attorney, and he kind of breaks down step by step what they've done so far. I know there was a lot of question because we kind of didn't know what was happening on that side of the field, so they've been taking some action to try to meet with the property owners and get the geotech out there, and that information is kind of outdated in that email from Mr. Kipnis.
That was Tuesday.
Yeah, so we had a phone conference. Unfortunately, there's a conflict. MS4 was out all of last week, and then Mr. Kipnis is out all this week, so we tried to have a meeting just to bring it back before you guys. So unfortunately, MS4 was not there, but Keith from DEP kind of focused in on some of the things that have been happening out there as well.
And if my memory serves me, it was at the direction of staff at the last meeting to approve this
the
request.
plat that was before you, yes.
The
Plan
approve the
change.
plan change, yeah.
Good.
That was a major plan change.
It was. Yeah, it was a major plan change since it had the public hearing.
They're all.
And
But the lots they were adding, or the plan changes that they were proposing was
Minuscule, really.
de minimis
no, I understand that.
to the stormwater,
Yeah.
It's
that,
kind of separate.
you know, the issues that they have.
It's 7 lots. All the roadways is already there. All of the infrastructure's there. So it's really just 7 new home sites.
I understand that, and I'm prepared to make a motion to accept staff recommendation, motion to approve the major plan change for the Lakes Phase 1 Plan Change number 5.
Second.
Okay, we have a Motion by Mr. Gokenhour to accept staff recommendations for approval of the major plan change and advancement to the final plat stage. And a second by Mrs. Thornton. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
So you guys will see another public hearing, we'll have final plat then too, so I'm sure the homeowners that were here at the last meeting will be back.
So by that time, we'll know more about the sinkhole, most likely, that the
Hopefully.
You
DSA.
more down the road and can give the homeowners some clarity.
Yeah.
We
The
should
whole
definitely
question-
have Keith's, report by then too,
I
so.
mean, the whole question came up was, we've asked, but no one's provided that information yet. We looked through the plans that were approved back in the day, both the stormwater report and the preliminary plans. They were very, very, very sketchy on whether there was ever a line required. We understand there was a soils report done, but no one's provided that to us.
There's a
Forrest said
line,
they saw it, we've asked to review it, let's look at it, no one's given it to us from there. They mentioned it on the call, and I asked them to specifically send me the plan sheet and stateside, no one sent it yet.
there's supposedly a note that says DEP recommends a clay liner, so they're really, pushing it to the limit on what recommends means, if it means you should do it, or you need to do it, based on their approval.
What year was that?
So, that's,
And
What
technically,
year is this?
the sinkholes that they had that were
Year is this
existing in the area of the large road, which is the stormwater line. Technically, if you look at that existing plan from 2000, whatever, you see all those sinkholes. Naturally, you shouldn't have allowed any infiltration out of that pond from the standpoint that it could exacerbate something that's already there, even if they plugged all those up and remediated. We would have still said, I mean, in today's time, the response would have been, no, you need to provide a liner. Because it's just, we don't know whether the sinkhole would open up under the lake itself or 1,000 yards away on someone's property. We don't know. So therefore, we would have required all that. That's what I didn't see on the drawings, and I haven't heard anyone make any statements yet about, although they say it exists. So we left it where engineering is with it. At some point, you guys need to go back and show us.
and we have a lot more chances to ask for that, this isn't,
Right.
they have there's a preliminary plan in that we're reviewing for sections 3 and 4, so they're added single-family sections, so even at that stage,
Right.
we can ask for this information and their final plat, so we still have a lot of pool, I think, with all of this, and best case scenario, they remediate the sinkholes and then it fills up and everyone's happy.
They do have water back
So-
in the one. I mean, the geese are back, the ducks are back. The two upper ones I don't think are that great, but the lower one definitely has head to it, and the geese and the ducks are there. So, the water can't be too nasty.
And I don't think we want to put too many issues together. I mean, Stormwater District and DEP are worried about water quality, quantity issues, whereas this, I think, concerns the residents there, and this body would be more that there's this amenity that everybody's advertised about. They have some 15, 20 acres of lakes. And do you have a plan to get the lakes in there? As it is right now, they don't even know what the technical reasons are. There's no water being held in. They didn't seem like they were too concerned about that. So, I mean, you have some authority to make sure that these amenities are in place. That's what it says there. Although we don't bond a community pool, if they're designed to put in a community pool, then they want to start doing a bunch of that stuff. But what the pool is, at least get with the residents and figure out.
Yeah, it's not required, but they said they were gonna do it, and it's on the plans, so it should be there.
Well, I mean, I made the motion to table strictly because there was a total lack of communication or a lack of even have communication about this. So that's why it was
Well, I
10.
think we looked at it too is when we had this call with them, I have just have a little bit of a concern. I think that they're doing a lot more geotechnical investigation than what this would typically warrant. And I'm wondering if they aren't concerned about the embankment. And that's what I'm kind of keeping an eye on, and that's really where I want a response back from everyone. Because should the embankment fail for the water, that is a big mess. And it could actually, flood somebody out. It could actually, take, part of a home with it. We don't know, not saying that, just saying that an embankment failure is not something we look at as lightly. So, I mean, that's, like I said, I have things don't add up. So that's where I was with it.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But, last item is, the 2022 subdivision ordinance.
Yeah, so, you gonna read that for us?
Yeah.
You need to read
I mean,
that.
if you want to pay me to read it, I'll may put out an audiobook.
I need some time off
Move to
next
adjourn.
month to move. If you want to grant me that, I'll read it out loud to you.
No.
So,
I just have one request, and I think they had this the last time. Is there a way that the pages can be numbered instead of just by section and section
I thought they were
30?
numbered up in the corner, but I could be wrong. Could be a layer that we just accidentally took
Well,
off.
they
I
are
told
by
Brandy
article.
to do
I don't
that,
see a
sir,
number.
and they just wouldn't listen to me. I
So
said that
it's
you would want
the
that.
layout is something that we will have to clean up big time. We know that there's some little tweaks that we know that we need to do just in terms of formatting and stuff like that, but we'll clean that up once you guys read it through. We kind of gave it to you guys to read the substance, and then in the 2 weeks that you guys are reading it, we're gonna make sure we go in, make sure all the fonts are
But
the
the
same,
meter's all
stuff like
there.
that.
We like where we went with it. We did change up how the plan process flows. We
Went
did-
back to normal wording and
Yeah, we kind of
verbiage.
normalized it in what we have now. We made the 2 public hearings up front because that's where they need to be.
Trying to make it easier without removing requirements,
Right.
just simple stuff, but
We put in a lot of things in there, like at the discretion of the county engineer.
So we're gonna try to discuss this at the next,
Who's Hunter's engineering firm?
they just left.
Fox.
Inspector here.
He'll be calling you.
Jason Gerhardt will be calling you.
we're gonna try to discuss this at the October 17th meeting then?
Yeah, and if you guys see something, feel free to send it over to us, and
Scan it, send it, whatever you want, call.
we'll add it to the
Something.
packet or whatever for the next meeting, and we'll look at it. We haven't given it out to the public yet. That will be something that you guys will decide upon at, the next meeting, if that's the way you want to go with it.
But we really, 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 really want you to try and read it, and I don't mean that in a bad, came out wrong, I'm sorry. We really, really, really want you to read it and ask questions, because, I mean,
We want it to be good.
yeah, we do, we want this to be supported. It's not something that we just slap together. I mean, we put a lot of thought into this planning and engineering. I mean, a lot of this has been years coming that we said we need.
I've been working on this since I started here.
Yeah.
It's changed twice
Right.
in 5 years.
I've been
This is
working
like
on
the
it
third
since I
version,
came.
and I think that this is the most clear and concise version, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Did we try to
So
take?
that's what we aimed for, make it easier for everybody involved, still have the same regulations, and it just hopefully flows a little bit better.
And
Yeah,
addressing
we
things
tried
that
to
get
drag
waivers
in like
on.
a lot of the stuff in the engineering part.
You have anything else?
Well, I mean, I think we should kind of discuss time frame for when planning commissions wants to make a vote, have a vote on it, send it up to the higher paid folks.
Where's that going?
Yeah, the paid people, 'cause we're not
Yeah.
paid.
So because they have to adopt the ordinance and,
Well, it's 2 weeks enough.
Well, that's what, I don't know, because, with Linda being out, I want to give her an opportunity to really read it.
And Nick's not here.
Nick hasn't been here, Dan isn't
Dan
here,
isn't here,
so, We'll make sure that we email versions to them so they can have a chance to look at it and let them know that they want to pick up hard copies. We'll have them here. I'll get Linda her hard copy on Thursday. I'll give it to Jim. And we can go from there. 2 weeks might not be enough, but you guys can kind of decide that because it is, I mean, it's a lot of detail. It's not fun to read, if that makes sense. So I don't want you guys to read it in 2 weeks and then it just,
Yeah.
but
Let's see what you guys generate for comments, and then
Okay.
let's go from there.
yeah, I mean, whatever you guys are comfortable with. I mean,
If we don't get a lot, we know we've got some grammatical, it's more
just cleaning it up and making
cleaning
it
it
look
up
nice.
for us that we know we have to do.
So should this be given to a fellow council people yet, or you want to wait?
Well, that's what you guys have to decide
It's up to
to
you. I would rather,
recommend to them.
I would rather you guys get a shot at it, let us revise it, and finish it.
Eventually,
and,
make a recommendation to county council. I mean,
That's
it's
when
theirs to play with them.
we give it to them, then they look at it, they make decisions on it, they decide when it goes on the agenda to be advertised for or whatnot, so.
So our goal was to maybe do that next meeting then, so.
And it's probably enough time to do that.
So be on your Thanksgiving dinner. Any move? Got a motion to adjourn? Need a second?
Second.
We don't have to vote. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Thank you.